That was sooner than expected. After spending the summer in the faraway land of Montenegro and working tirelessly at a hotel.
The fucking waves! Oh my god! Holy shit! We're gonna crash!
There's a crab on my wall. What are you doing? I came back to Belgrade and decided that this year, the winter depression won't get to me. In mid-October, I took a walk and saw my beloved. Just look at these damn things. Mwah! I was already doing Inktober, but this year I wanted to do something special. Something to remember this year by. I put on a suit to go and buy some Winsor & Newton ink, paper, and quite possibly the shittiest pen known to man. The plan was to draw this pretty picture on the biggest piece of paper I found in the store that day and document the whole thing on video. Strangely, it was at this point that I realized that this will take a while, but luckily I was never one to get repelled by tedious, difficult tasks. I put the Serbian Naruto dub on in the background and got to work.
Dobro jutro, Sakura! Šta ima?
I started out with a grid, because tracking every daisy down on this reference would actually kill me. I didn't have a plan, I just had passion and time to kill, so I, stupidly, started drawing from the middle of the piece. I considered each daisy on the reference as a landmark of sorts, and only drew them to start with, followed by the leaves and the negative space. Since I had no plan, but also no expectation of how this should look, I was pleasantly surprised at how it was coming along. Want to finish, I want to finish this area, just this here. Probably won't even reach the edge. That's the plan for the next hour, too. I don't know how long it will take. Also, this is the only table that can fit my drawing on it, and so almost the entirety of the process will be filmed under Yugoslav-era dining room light. My treat. Now tell me, have you ever made a mistake that you perceive as seemingly insignificant, and so you end up doing it again? And have you ever made a mistake so brutally serious it becomes memorable? I have, when I decided to not stretch the paper before drawing on it, since past accounts of it buckling with the slightest amount of water were but a hazy memory, letting me continue my monotonous glide into mediocrity. Except this was not in fact the smallest amount of water, but a whole fucking wet towel I used to dry my hair that I left on the drawing. God fucking damn it. The whole painting was buckled, meaning I'd have to water it and then iron it down, but we will burn that bridge when we get there. To calm myself, I went to the countryside and took my drawing with me. She's coquette. On a rather chilly night, I walked in peace, until I stumbled upon these. They sure are pretty, but it appears that what used to be one of my favorite flowers will now remind me of one of my biggest L's. Speaking of L's, this is how I would leave my ink and pen when I wasn't working on the piece. It's a little surprise tool that will help us later. I used a comically small table to continue working. Soon, the drawing was standing on one leg, and I began to gain more fluency in Serbian from the sheer amount of Naruto I have watched. Thankfully, there was no sunlight to mourn in mid-October, and so I had no regrets about staying in to work on this. I had this piece of paper I dubbed the palette, because I needed to periodically make this terrible pen draw again. However, at the midway point of the piece, the pen broke completely, and it happened to happen on a Sunday when everything was closed.
This freshly dipped ink. If this fucking pen served me as it did for the first 1/10 of the drawing, I would have not lost 5 years of my fucking life, my lifespan. I'm gonna be on my deathbed, and they're like, Val, is there anything you regret? And I'd say, yes. It's this fucking thing.
Frustrated, I vented to a friend, who, upon seeing the state of this pen, doxed my ass and sent me 4 comic-grade pen nibs for drawing. The shittiness of this pen has actually earned me a sugar mommy. I cannot stress this enough. Girl, I'm going to make out with you. However, by the time these pens would arrive, I'll probably be done with the drawing anyway, and so I bought the same shitty pen and continued my work. I also remembered that I have a DSLR camera that's almost as old as I am, so enjoy some of these shots. Bitch. It is 11 p.m. and I have a fucking DSLR camera. Why have I not been using it? I don't know. Holy shit. We are almost done. It's very close, but I am extremely tired. So I'm gonna leave this. I'm gonna leave this for tomorrow, and hopefully, we're actually gonna finish that. Let me fuck this fucking camera. I flip-flopped between drawing this in the city and the countryside, switching from one scuffed setup to another. A little tidbit, I partially did this drawing because every Inktober I'd buy ink and end up not using all of it, and it would coagulate at the bottom of the bottle and spoil. So this time I wanted to use the entire bottle, but didn't account for the fact that at the halfway point of this drawing, I'd have a third of the ink left. And also, at about 3/4 of the drawing's completeness, I knocked the entire bottle over. If you, or any of your loved ones, heard the scream of a banshee at about 7 p.m. Central European Time, that was me processing the shock of what happened. Luckily, I had an old, partially coagulated bottle of ink left in my apartment from eons ago. I just kinda poured that ink into the new bottle and hoped for the best. Because I started drawing from the middle of the piece, then down, then up, I ruined my back, and ended up using these boards I got for stretching paper to lie down on while I drew. This is the only thing I will ever straddle, and I'm fine with it. The plan was to have all the darkest negative space areas gradually fade out into the light background, with the cross-hatching getting more and more faint. I decided to not make the background as detailed because my biggest problem with inking is over-rendering, which is when you overdo the detail and then can't erase it, and so you're left with a permanent mistake. I bought a white Posca pen to erase the mistakes with, but I tested it in my sketchbook first, and for some reason it dried yellow and looked like a used copy of Domestic Girlfriend. I decided to not use white gouache either, because it would ruin the texture. And so, I'm happy to announce that this entire drawing is done in nothing but one shitty knockoff dip pen. On Sunday, 16th November, 26 days later, I zoned back in to realize that I was actually done drawing this. I did a satisfying tape pull, which ended up ripping the paper, because I am a dumbass. This is a message for future me. Start going the fuck outside, and also use a hairdryer to weaken the glue on your painter's tape so that it would come off easily. To be honest, I was viscerally upset that this happened, but then I remembered that I will frame this drawing in a way that will hide it, and so everything is chill. Speaking of framing, I'm not going to like the price it will cost to frame this thing.
It's worth quite a bit of money.
This is why I don't usually make pieces this big. What doesn't help is the fact that next time I want to make an even bigger drawing. It will be my height, standing at around 170 centimeters or 5 feet 5 inches. I am a short queen. And here's the finished piece. I'm very happy with it, and it took less than I'd expect from something like this. I really like how it looks, although I definitely could have made the values more varied by following the reference closely. Alas, I didn't plan my workflow before starting it, so next time I definitely will. Oh look, just in time. Look what arrived. 4 pen nibs from, I don't know what country it's actually from. But that's the fun part, isn't it? For comparison, this is how small the contents of the package were. And this is the size of the package. Thank you so much for watching, and have a happy new year. And go work on something you've been putting off. Goodbye. Oh my god, it's getting dark really fast. But it's good. It's good. It's good. Usually I jump down from here and get to that creek. This is the exact same spot I jumped from last time. I am thinking I can do this again. Ooh, with this seep. Huh.